Okay, open your book to page 67. We are going to go through the examples with linear equations. Remember yesterday we started talking about linear equations, and now we're going to focus on linear equations that have two variables. So if a linear equation has two variables, the solutions are ordered pairs. So if we have an example like x plus y equals 6, the answers are ordered pairs. And remember, when we have ordered pairs, this is x, first number is x, and the second number is y. So to find solutions, we have to find values for x and y that make the equation true. So if you look at this example in the middle of the page, it says which equation shows 3x plus 5y equal to 10 in simplest form in terms of y. And when you look at your letter choices, that tells you that we're looking to see how does this simplify with y by itself. So we would take our equation and we would solve for y. So we would first subtract 3x. So we get 5y equals negative 3x plus 10. Then we would divide by 5. So we get y equals negative 3/5 x plus 2. So there's our equation in terms of y. So when we go back to look at our letter choices, this matches up with letter A. Next, on the next page, let's look at example number 2. Number 2 says, what's the value of y? So we're supposed to be finding what y equals in the following equation when x equals 9. So this tells us we're substituting 9 back in this problem for x. So instead of 2/3 x minus y, we're going to have 2/3, and we replace the x with 9. So 2/3 times 9 minus y is equal to negative 4. If you use your calculator and take 2/3 times 9, you're going to get 6 minus y equals negative 4. Then we would subtract 6. So we have negative y equals negative 10, and we have to divide by negative 1, so y would be 10. And right there in the middle of our paper, of our screen, D would have to be the final answer. So remember, ordered pairs that make up the solution to a linear equation have specific meanings if we're working with real world problems. So the ordered pairs that make up solutions to linear equations have specific meanings in the context of a real world problem. To understanding the meaning of x and y values, look back at the situation described in the problem and decide what represents each variable. So if we look at this example, it says Jane spent $10 at an ice cream truck. She bought X ice cream cones and Y sundaes. The equation below shows the relationship between the number of ice cream cones and the number of sundaes she bought. 3x plus 4y is equal to 10. And right there in the middle of the paper it says the equation shows the relationship between the number of ice cream cones and the number of sundaes. They also told us that x was ice cream cones and y was sundaes. So when we have this ordered pair, we know that an ordered pair is normally x comma y. So in this situation, since x stood for ice cream cones, our ordered pair stands for ice cream cones, and the y stands for sundaes. So the ordered pair 2, 1 is a solution. What does the solution to 1 represent? This would mean that 2 ice cream cones and 1 sundae. So this tells us that Jane bought 2 ice cream cones and 1 sundae. Notice they're trying to trick you. They're trying to say that sundaes cost $2 each and ice cream cones cost $1 each, but that's not true. Go back to the problem. Remember, it said the number of ice cream cones. So that's why it's letter D. Okay, what I'd like you to do now is go over to page 69, and you are going to try problem 1, problem 2, 3, and 5. So right now, I'd like you to pause the video and try problem 1, 2, 3, and 5. Okay, so hopefully you took time and went through those problems. Number 1 says that Jackson has 75 cents in dimes, D, and nickels, N, in his pocket. Which equation could be solved to find the possible combination of dimes and nickels Jackson has? So when I first look at my answer choices, this 75 is talking about 75 cents. So when I'm talking dimes, this is how many he has. So we need to figure out or remember that dimes are 10 cents and nickels are 5 cents. So the one that would make sense would be letter D, 10 cents for every dime, 5 cents for every nickel. We add them together and that has to total up to 75. Number 2, the linear equation below has two variables, y equals negative 1/4 x minus 1, which shows the solutions to the equation when x is 4, x is 0, and x is negative 4. So we're basically finding three values. So first, we would find y when x is 4. And that comes out to be 0. So x is 4, y was 0, which means we have the point 4, 0. So I'm looking for my choices that have the point 4, 0. There's only one, so I'm thinking it's going to be letter D, but I'm going to double check. I'm going to also do 0. So y equals negative 1/4 times 0 minus 1, which would be negative 1. So when x is 0, y is negative 1. So something went wrong. 4. Oh, I messed up at the top. Hopefully you got it right. This should have been negative 2. So D is not the answer. 4, negative 2 was letter B. And that also has 0, negative 1. So it's very important to make sure you double check and don't just go with your first answer. Number 3, a 50-foot roll of fencing will be used to enclose a rectangular garden. Which equation below could not be solved to find the possible lengths and widths of the garden? So 50-foot roll of fencing. If we're talking about fencing, we're talking about going around the outside. So we're actually talking about perimeter. So we don't know the length and we don't know the width. So do we want 2 times L times W? This is actually showing area. This is length plus the width, but then they divided it by 2, which would make sense. This is correct. 2 times L plus W is equal to 50, and 2L plus 2W is also correct. So A is the one that's not correct because it's talking about area. And then number 5, look at the linear equation below. What value of y when x is 6? So we're replacing x with 6. And negative 1.5 times 6 is going to be negative 9. I'm going to just double check that to make sure I did that correct. Minus 10y equals 5. So I would add 9. Negative 10y equals 14. So when I divide by negative 10, we get y equals negative 1.4. Okay, fantastic. So for homework, I want you to finish this. I want you to do number 4. go to the next page and try 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So finish this lesson for homework